And welcome to Writer's Life, a place where you get the sights, sounds, smells, taste of my particular writer's life, and where you get the truth about the writer. Well, it's my truth anyway. Subscribe if you haven't already. Punch the like button. Tap the bell gently so you receive notifications because the notification bell is sensitive. And go to vinceandrew.com. vinceandrew.com for all your thriller needs. Pick up the new American Crime Story, the second book. Book 3 comes out next week, God willing. And then it'll all be there's going to be 5 books, and then it'll all be collected into an omnibus. What's omnibus mean? It's just a big ass book. Today we have a great guest. I think he's a great guest. I've never had him before, so this is his test. He's a marketing influencing genius. He is der Führer of marketing and influencing in Southern California, which is one of my favorite places in the world. Actually, I'm wearing a Northern California hat today. But his name is Tony Newton, and I'm sure all the kids called you Fig.
They
in
did.
High school.
They did. I think probably from 3rd grade.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Do they still do that, Tom?
They don't, probably because no one knows what Fig Newtons are anymore.
Yeah, I haven't had one in years.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Good. Thank you for agreeing to do this. This is like this. I don't do like the normal writers channel where somebody who writes a book comes on and what's your book about? Why did you write it? What's the plot? Like fuck that stuff. I want to talk to individuals who do cool stuff and who are involved in writing one way or another.
Yeah.
And I know that's part of
differentiator, actually. I mean, book reviews only go so far, and there's a lot of people doing it already. So
it seemed like everybody used to have a blog, but now they got to have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's
and
exactly.
So who knows what it'll be next year. Now, Tony, everybody, Tony's an adventurer. Like he gets in his truck, sometimes with his girlfriend, I assume sometimes not, or sometimes with some other adventurers, and he doesn't. He doesn't do like just the Adirondack mountain climb, which you can do in 4 hours, come back and grab some beers and a burger at the joint at the bottom of the hill. This guy goes on like, what was your last one? Like 3 months?
Yes.
You were in the field?
Yeah. So
where did you start? How do you do this?
It takes a lot of planning. And we started originally like, I grew up going to the redwoods, and to Mammoth and Yellowstone and stuff like that. Not Yellowstone, excuse me, Yosemite. Dad was avid fisherman, so his vacation was always going to the redwoods or wherever and fishing. So girlfriend and I first did a 2-week trip. We work out of the house, right, as I'm sure a lot of your audience does.
Right.
And so, you just get bored. I think it was kind of more boredom, and it was kind of more a test to see if we could go for some significant period of time. We took just the car and stayed at friends' houses, and we went about 3 weeks. So went Santa Cruz Mountains, then the redwoods. My friend lives close by to the redwoods. Stayed at a week in a little guest cabin that he's got up there in a place called Hyuchi, just outside of Jedediah Smith National Park. And then we did a little bit of Southern Oregon, and then came back down and finished off in Yosemite, and did some Airbnb and that sort of stuff, right? And it wasn't quote that adventurous, but it was a tester to see if we could get away for 2-3 weeks and not lose positioning in our market. Make sure we could get all the work done. Was it even valuable? And it was. I mean, we were able to concentrate harder for a very brief window in the morning, go do our daily adventurous stuff. hotel, you've got Wi-Fi and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Then we started going longer. We did a trip from through the Rockies. We went and did Zion, went over into the Tetons and Glacier, and then we ended up in Canada. And that was about, oh, so, right? And that was on the car and doing, days in and
Right. Oops, kind of froze up. Tony is frozen. Frozen Tony. Hang on, everybody. I'm sure he'll figure out a way to come back. There he is. He'll have to come back. Here he is. There he is. He exists again.
yeah, that was weird. Just disconnected from the internet. Sorry about that. So
That's
I don't know where we left off, but basically, yeah, we then did about a 2-month trip over across the Rockies, and that was
wow.
life changing. So
Wow.
not only one, you're seeing these areas that you see in National Geographic and the
Right.
wildlife and what have you. Um, you start realizing that there's more to life, and as you
Right.
get older, I'm going to be 50 here in about a month, and
Oh, poor baby.
you start realizing, you got 2 decades left, right, of
Yeah,
being
2 good decades. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and so started doing trailer hunting, and then COVID happened, and everybody and their mother thought it was, they're gonna go do, instead of doing Disneyland with their kids, they're gonna go try their hand at Montana or wherever, and
Right.
it was very difficult to secure trailers. They'd come on market, and of course, production, went way down
Right.
because, but after a couple of months, we found one. And oddly enough, if any of your audience is looking to get into that RV life or van or whatever, there's, just keep going to like RV Trader and realize that there's a huge difference between where they're selling. Like for instance, the one that we got out here in LA was 37,000. I drove all the way out to East Texas and got it for 21,000.
Holy crap. Now,
So
are you
you're
talking like a used model or
no,
a
no, brand new,
brand
brand
new?
new.
No. Wow.
So the RV market, whether that's an actual RV, travel trailer, fifth wheel, or just a one of those van conversions, Mercedes
Right.
cargo sprinter vans, they call them. There's a huge difference, and it's not remotely the same market as trucks or cars or whatever. It's just not even close, right?
Right.
So be prepared to do quite a bit more research. It's not like, oh, I know I want a Honda Accord and I'm gonna go find a good dealer, right? It's not
Yeah.
remotely like that. Yeah. So, but anyway, long story short, I picked it up in East Texas, drove it to the Southern Rockies. Girlfriend and her niece met them in Denver, and then we went all the way up to Montana again.
Wow.
And we did other places. And one thing that we noticed is it felt too much like we were traveling and not enjoying. So there's lots of pitfalls, meaning I was doing 4 days here, then going, and 4 days and going, and blah blah blah. And then
Right.
after a while, it feels like, wow, we got to pack the trailer, clean it, and and you're learning all this stuff on the
Right.
fly, and
Right.
how to make sure that the fridge stays on and your
Right.
levels and all this stuff, and just being in
Right.
traffic.
Right.
So this last trip we did 3 months, but we stayed, like for instance, we stayed a week in the Grand Canyon, and then a week in Zion, and then a week or 10 days in the Tetons. And you think like, at first you think, is that too much time or whatever? And then all of a sudden you realize there's all these things that you've never done, even though that's now the fourth time I went to the Tetons.
Yeah.
We went to places way in the backwoods. We went to a hot spring, and it was one of those ones you pay. It's like $5 or whatever.
Right.
And but it was, you got to hike 8 miles to get there. So
Wow.
there was like 6 other people, and then a storm rolls through, and you're just in that thing that
Right.
nature is showing its head. It's
Right.
rearing. And you're like, you can't, that feeling you get that you're like, you saw two moose on the way up, a fox,
Right.
a bear from
Right.
a distance. Then you go to a hot
Right.
spring and hang out there for 3 hours. Huge thunderstorm rolls over, and then you hike back, and you're like, I feel like I'm 20 years old again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You don't get that feeling by not doing anything, by not being
Yeah.
adventurous. So
Yeah. Um, I think one of the reasons I travel so much, I mean, I'm, I don't travel the United States nearly as much as I should.
mhm.
Of course, I've, been around all the coasts, right? But, and I did drive cross country once to Aspen, but Aspen's the same place as all those other places on the coast. But one of the reasons I love to adventure travel so much is because you're right. It like defies age. And, I still just fill my backpack and I bring my office, my laptop, and whatever else I need, and I'm good to go. And people are like, "Wait, how long are you going for? 3 months? Like, what about laundry and all that stuff?" Like, I'm like, "You wash your clothes,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever."
You
You know,
figure it out. And
yeah,
you know what? One of the things that I found out on the last two trips is less is more.
absolutely.
Bring all this stuff. And another byproduct too is I don't view money anymore as like things I can buy shit with. Right?
Right,
I rarely buy stuff. Right?
right. I don't buy anything. Yep.
Yeah. I use it for experience. You
Right.
know,
I
and
do the
that's
same.
good. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
feel
I
you
mean,
feel better as a human.
yep. I don't. For me, anyway, and I'm sure to an extent you as well. Um, like I'll have maybe say a $15,000 uh, deduction, travel deduction at the end of the year. And and it's like it always everything you have to make sure everything results in a loss,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and so um but there's no better way to spend it, otherwise I mean I can't imagine, I can't remember the last time I bought something for
Yep.
myself like fit like I'm sure you're the same way, like hey I'm going to go out and buy this new high def TV so I can watch the ball game Sunday and lay on my ass on the couch and drink beers all day. Like that is, I bet you don't. I mean, I don't own it. I do own a TV, but it hasn't been plugged in 3 or 4 years. But of course,
I'm
I
not
stream
that
stuff.
bad.
I mean, I stream stuff. I mean, I'm not
Yeah,
like
yeah,
totally immune to this. I
yeah, yeah.
stream my favorite stuff, um, but our lives are different than that. Let me ask you one more question about the hike or about the adventures, and then I'll move on a little bit. But now, are you doing technical climbs when you're there? Or are you
I started getting into that. They're still routed trails.
right?
Girlfriend just isn't strong enough to do that sort of stuff, so I've done a couple of them. This last one in Banff, I climbed Mount Rundle. It's called the East End of Rundle. About 3,500 feet of gain in a mile and a half.
Wow,
So there was
that's
some 60% grades in there, right?
yeah, that's yeah,
Yeah, it was, and that was after several months of being in the mountains. Not nerve wracking, but when I first started, I'm like, oh man, what am I getting myself into? But
yeah, yeah,
I did it, and there were other people there. In fact, there were more than I thought there would be. But when you get up to the top, you get that sense of accomplishment, and you get that sense
Right.
of being on top of the world, and
Sure.
I can do this kind of thing, so
Right. Right. Now you
confidence level.
mentioned, right. You mentioned money. Now Tony like me is into his cryptos, but I'm an older dude, so I'm a Bitcoin and Ethereum guy, right? Of course, I lost my shirt last year, but and then some. But despite Tony's he sometimes coaches me a little bit on this, but I'm just going to cut through the bullshit, and I'm going to ask you, what do you see Bitcoin's price at next year after the halving?
So funny. I just saw a tweet from somebody, a trader that I follow, just to learn about technical analysis and stuff like that. I'm not some technical analysis guy,
Right.
but they just
You're
came
not
out.
looking at charts all the time and all that.
No, no, I know enough to be dangerous to myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he said it was J.P. Morgan and or Jamie Dimon and like six other people.
Right.
Kathy Wood and her $1 million
Kathy Wood.
price, right?
Yeah.
So, and
Yep.
he said the only guy that got it right was J.P. Morgan at 45K. And he's like, what? And he was like, is some introspection. I really don't know. There are people that do Elliott wave theory that think that there is a big run coming, and that you're looking at 120 to 150K. For me, I think that this was less likely in 2020, which was a pre-run, a pre-test of the bull run before the
Right.
halving. So, and then it comes back
Right.
down to some level that's
Yep.
still a higher low than that 15K was. It
Yeah. It
comes
always
back
does
down.
this.
Yep, comes back down. People are also charting that black swan, the COVID black swan. I'm like, well,
Right.
we'll get another one. I don't think so. But I think we see a resting point and lots of chop in this 20 to 25 area.
Yeah.
And we don't get real bullish until Bitcoin reclaims 30K
Yeah.
and holds. So
Right.
if you zoom out and you look at the weekly or the monthly charts, meaning that every single bar is a month or a week, and you step away from this intraday price action or intra-week price action, and you're not one
Right.
of those guys, you're just like, I'm going to buy Bitcoin or I'm going to buy Ethereum and hold um, for some significant period of time. When you zoom back out, that 30K level is really pivotal. So you
Right.
get back above 30K, and conversely, Ethereum back above
Right.
2200,
Right.
and it holds that area, then you can say the sellers are done.
Yep.
And most people are more diamond handed at that point. I think Bitcoin already is. They've already bought those lows, but they're not going to buy in this area.
Right.
We have to wait for retail that doesn't know what they're doing to come in and continue to buy up. And then when it
Right.
gets overshot again,
Yep.
you look back at the monthly, you look at the RSI levels of the monthly relative strength index. And if Bitcoin and Ethereum are in the 70s and 80s on the monthly chart, then you better start looking at selling,
Okay. Yeah.
and scaling out. So I
Yeah.
don't know what the price prediction is. I think it chops around here for a while. And then after the halving, you see, 120 to 150, somewhere around there.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I really don't know. You just got to look at the monthly and the RSI. And if the
Right.
RSI is getting up in the 70s and 80s on the monthly, you should start considering scaling out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm
Yeah.
going to wait for that moment, which happened twice actually in the latest bull run. It went up to the 70s and 80s, did a 50% retracement, and
Yep.
then took another run at it, and then topped out again, right? And
Right.
then
Right.
it was down only from there. So
Right.
no,
Although
no,
there's been some talk that Sam Bankman-Fried and Carolyn were manipulating the market at that point. I mean, I don't know, but
I'm not gonna speculate on any of that, simply because they didn't have enough money to manipulate that. Even though they had a ton of
that's what
money,
I was thinking. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Binance was 5 to 10 times bigger, and
Yeah.
Coinbase owns, like, I want to say, like 1 million Bitcoin or something like that, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So was Coinbase and Binance in on it too? I mean, that that almost impossible, right?
Yeah.
So you would have to have a fully regulated Coinbase trying to
Right.
interfere with markets,
Right.
along with FTX offshore, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I just don't see where that could happen.
Yeah. But it sounds like a good story. Let me ask you something else. Um, your business Scalefluence.
Yeah.
You deal with a lot of, well, we're no longer writers, we're content creators.
Creators, yes.
Yes, we're content creators. That's what we are now. I still go with the writer thing. I had to use a manual typewriter in college, Tom.
I've done that.
Actual manual typewriter, and I have a bunch of them actually. But
Right.
now with your business and AI, is it coming on fast for you? Are you like, holy crap, I didn't expect this to happen so fast, and it's soon it's going to play an integral role in our influencing and marketing?
I think on the video side it will. Especially with what Meta Zuckerberg just came out with. I don't know if your audience is up to date on that, but Lex Fridman and him did an interview, and
Yeah.
you know, I two things I gathered from that is, one, Zuckerberg has come into his own, done something that it wasn't copying Google or wasn't copying other stuff. They're doing. He is not anymore. He's probably gotten a lot of coaching on how to be more congenial and more
Right.
approachable and stuff, and sound like a human. Yeah,
He's a robot.
probably in it's going to be quite a bit more of interplay, as they not augmented reality, but this enhanced reality that they're calling it, or whatever buzzword. But for writers out there, I would say, slow your panic roll if you got it. Don't the anxiety shouldn't come yet, and this is for two reasons. One, oddly enough, we were talking about crypto a second ago, but ChatGPT went through the same hype cycle. If you went on LinkedIn 3 months ago, that every single linked influencer out there was talking about it, and this is how you're going to use it, and yada yada yada. And
Yeah.
we've got about 50 writers, quote, on staff with Scalefluence that are writing copy uh, for our clients, right? And we
Right.
did some testing, right? And we noticed in quite a few areas it was just simply wrong.
Right.
It just was giving bad information or giving sentences. Real big client of ours in software development, it would say weird stuff like,
Right.
the app market is mushrooming like a cloud. You know, so you're saying the app market for software development is a nuke, and
It's a mushroom
it's,
cloud.
yeah, trying to
It couldn't differentiate.
correct, and trying to get this, trying to get creative, right? And then the CEO of Google, what's his name, did that 60 Minutes thing and said, basically it's guessing and has these, I forget what they called it, hallucinations.
Uh-huh.
And that's just another word for bullshit,
Right.
right? So it's just trying to find the next word, and they're going to critique and get it better and all that other stuff. But, you know, it's another word for I'm running out of ideas and I'm throwing stuff up there, right?
Sure.
And so, and then thirdly, I think, you know, there's a whole world of SEO. There's a whole world of corporate based content generation, and they're all finding out the exact same thing that
Right.
we found out. You know, content
Right.
marketing, whether you want to call that emailing your clients a new offer or new product and service, you know, email marketing, you are working with influencers on Instagram, writing on your blog, creating an ebook, whatever. That whole thing is called content marketing, right?
Right.
And it's exploding. It's just been exploding for 10 years, spurned by Google, and it's I want the best results, the most authoritative results, the deepest content, and getting better and better and better at finding that and non-manipulatable signals in their algorithm. Facebook buying out these other content platforms and realizing that they're going to be losing audience if they can't keep up to speed with Google. I don't think they are, but the cream rises to the top there as well on Facebook and Instagram, right?
Yep.
So are they all using AI? In fact, I think most of them have already tried it and found the exact same thing that we found. It's a bullshit artist. It is crawling Google results from over a year ago and
Right.
rewording it, right?
That's right.
And not doing a very good job of it.
No.
Um, and of course, it's going to get better, but AI is not AI right now. It is a machine learning algo, and it's not very good. And in fact,
Right.
my neighbors, oddly enough, my neighbors, one of them is a linguist at IBM, and knowing that you're Italian, you'll be proud of this. She is Italian and speaks several languages. She's a polyglot or whatever, right?
Right.
And basically also teaches at UCLA, and her husband is a developer at a AI startup and has been in AI now for I want to say 7 or 8 years, and they are both scoffing at it. So
Right.
they say it's coming, but it's probably 5+ years away.
Yeah.
So for writers out there, I would definitely say hold your panic button.
Yeah.
Okay. Create great content. Do what you love.
Right.
The money comes. Build your audience. You know,
Oh,
you keep pushing out copy, right?
right. Just,
Some are going to do good. Some are going to fall flat. You're
yeah.
making a life out of writing, right?
Right.
And I guarantee you that right now that there's not a single person out there that can write suspense novels with the aid of AI.
You can't.
Yeah,
I
you would
had,
spend more time correcting it than creating thoughts.
right. I just as an experiment, I was fucking around and I was like, write me a Dick Moonlight PI story. And it was just so pathetically bad. It was like, a, a blonde dame shows up at Dick Moonlight's office.
Yeah.
My husband's been kidnapped. And it was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, and all over the board,
yeah,
and here's one thing that I think writers probably should really look forward to is that we're humans. We
yeah,
know what other humans want. How could a machine know what humans actually want?
right,
What is the curve? The curve is unbelievable, and it
right,
will flatten out, right? The
right,
growth curve on it is going to be unbelievable because it saves time, but the learning curve is even more vertical.
right,
You cannot. And how many flavors of interest are there out there, right?
right,
You know, I'm not a suspense novel guy. I actually very rarely read novels. I'm more of a research guy, right?
right,
And jotting and collecting info for my trips and whatever,
right,
and gleaning just little bits and compiling that. That's how my brain works.
right. But
How
what
would Chat GPT know that versus what you want?
exactly? But what it can't provide is whether you're writing fiction, or you're writing an article or blog for Scalefluence, you have to you have to reach the consumer or the reader anyway. You have to have an emotional connection, and you have to strike something in that person. And you got to like pull them in. You got to pull them in with the wording. I don't care if you're writing a technical manual. You have to somehow pull them in with the language, and it has to be believable. It has to be influential. All those things. And you just can't get that with a chat GPT, not yet.
No.
I mean, it's okay as a search engine, but it's just in that regard, it's Google on steroids. But that's about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. If you want prompting, and you're,
Yeah,
let's say you have writer's block and you want some prompting out there,
yeah, go,
sure. Yeah,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
It'll give you some intent, right, or
yeah,
what people want to know,
right,
right?
yep, yep,
If you are a struggling writer simply because of topics, and you're running out of ideas because you've got some burnout, yeah, use it, but
yeah.
don't have it writing for you. It just doesn't work.
It just
You know,
doesn't
we
right.
in our on our corporate blog, the number one thing that we have to be showing to influencers to sign up for our marketplace is we got your back.
Right,
Hey, this we know how other influencers are growing their audience, and here's examples. And then on the other side of the equation is the people that are going to spend money in our marketplace. We have to show expertise.
right,
This is totally different piece of content, right? Is it
yeah,
totally different in intent? This is
right.
how you do it to get ROI on your spend. On the
That's right,
influencer side, it's like, hey, this is how you grow your audience so that you can charge more money when you're collaborating,
right,
right?
right, right,
We're not telling influencers, you know, we're not telling them how to spend money. We're telling them how to make money through content ideation and certain tools that people use and topics and generation and that sort of stuff. And then on the corporate side, we're telling people this is how you use our system, this is the results that you can expect and so forth, and the special techniques that you want to use when collaborating with an influencer. So when you spend that $200 or whatever it is
right,
showcasing your product, it's gonna hit with the audience. And
right.
I guarantee you that nobody is using AI in any of those placements
Yeah.
simply because the corporation would look at it and go, "That's not what we want."
No,
Right? We
no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And with this in mind, because we're getting a little short on
same thing.
time, with this
I
in
go.
mind, where is Scalefluence going? I noticed the website has changed its branding a little bit.
Yep.
And so where are you going in the next 5 years?
Um, well, for us, it's data, right? So we have connections with YouTube and Google Analytics and Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and we're gonna get more LinkedIn and what have you. Uh, the value add for anybody spending money with us is that, unlike if you went to Instagram and found some travel influencers because you got a brand new backpack coming out, you don't know if those followers are fake, if they purchased followers. So you'd have to do it by hand and look at each post over the last 6 months to determine whether or not that $200 is going to do anything. Right?
Right,
He's a backpacker, but maybe he went out and bought 50,000 followers, robots,
right.
and nobody's actually seeing his post. So for us, it's
Yeah,
data. We're getting the real followers. We're getting, that where we see ourselves in 5 years is, you're coming to us because it's authentic. The data is real. It comes directly from Instagram. It comes directly from Google. The big platforms are giving us that data, and we're displaying it to you, the purchaser, the collaborator, the corporate machine that wants to work with X number of influencers that are opted into our platform.
right. So Tony, where can people find you, potential clients also, and where can they find Scalefluence?
Well, number one place is scalefluence.com. We haven't done a whole lot of social media advertising.
Oh. We lost you again, Tone. Might have to come back on. Bear with us, everybody. Technical difficulty. Here he comes again. You need new Wi-Fi. You were discussing where we can find you, brother. Of course, it cut
Yeah,
out on
yeah,
you.
right. Yeah.
Right.
Here comes my pitch. Click. Yeah. So yeah,
Click.
just email my team at admin. Yeah. Yeah. Email my team at admin, ADMIN at scalefluence.com. That's not Scale Influence, it's Scalefluence. Maybe put a link in there too to the sign up for influencers. Vin
I certainly will. It'll be
yeah.
below here.
Yeah, so just go to scalefluence.com. You can read up our blog content, what have you. But if you're a writer and you've got some followers, or not even a writer, you're just anybody, you got a couple hundred followers on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, you're not making big bucks with us because you don't have a huge audience. But people do spend money with micro influencers, and
Yes,
I've got a cooking blog. This lady gets 1 million visits a month on her blog. Right.
Yep.
And I think 600,000 subscribers. She's been doing it for a long time. She charges a lot
Huge.
more, but she gets a lot less orders. Right.
Yep.
If she wants $5,000 for a mention on her YouTube channel because she's can demand it, that's one every couple of months or whatever. But micro influencers might get 2 or 3 orders a month. Right.
Right.
So yeah, don't sell yourself short. Keep building, keep generating audience like you're doing here with this. This is a way for people to get to know about your books. This is a way for people to understand that you are a writer, and other fellow writers helping them out is a great way for anybody to get involved. A lot of these people that have huge audience now, they started at zero. They didn't know what they were doing,
Yep. God knows I did. Tony Newton, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
I hope you come back one of these days because there's so many more questions I wanted to ask you. But
yeah, let's do it again.
Go help mom out. I do the same. I help my mom out, and in between, it's usually I usually get the call right when I'm like in a pivotal scene. I'll be like, what? Or whatever. All right. That's it. Thanks everybody for showing up. And oh boy, I didn't even turn the chat on, but it doesn't matter. Tony, I will see you when I see you. And thanks again. And everybody else, ciao, ciao.